Ladies and gentlemen, I really have to say gentlemen because I think we do have a few gentlemen around here. I'm really humbled this morning to stand here and introduce another phenomenal lady, a woman who has, in no one circumstances, did not stand back in her own rights to fight for the community. And Florrie, today we are honoring you. And I know you cannot come and stand here, but I will ask your granddaughter to please come and join me here and stand here so that we really honor your mother this morning. Let's give her a round of applause. Let's give a wonderful round of applause. Wathini bafasi. Wathini bagoto. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. As I've said, and Florrie had so much determination, and I think here it was just shown once again that when I said her grandchild must come, she came. And I think that is a beautiful remembrance that all of us would like to know that we fought for something in life, be it as small as it may. I'm not going to go through the entire tribute because I think we gave everybody a copy of it, and since they're running late, I've been requested to summarize it. But also I think at the age where Florrie is, I wouldn't like to really let her suffer here. But the tribute really starts by saying, and Florrie started Operation Self-Help, where they literally collected old clothes or second-hand clothes. Today we call it smarter. We say recycled clothes and blankets, and started giving it out to the needy. And that within its own right was a powerful thing to do. Today, we sort of need all the publications when we do it, yet they were doing it very silently, very quietly. And I think we are remembered because if you listen to what Aunt Sophie said, how dignified women worked, then I think here we had another example. And Florrie, we used to know her for the Girls' Brigade. And I can tell you, every girl that has gone through that brigade has known the discipline of how a girl should behave in the street and at home. So for that, in that alone, she has groomed many young children, many young girls, to be girls, to grow up to be women, to be leaders within their own rights. I think we heard about where we should all start is at the foundation. And the foundation of children, the early childhood development, was critical to Aunt Florrie because she believed every child should really have that. So she was very actively involved in setting up those years. We used to call it Dorcas Creche. And then later there became another creche, Hamilton. But Aunt Florrie was always around. If you talk about creche meetings, you'll find her there. And it's so good that the Sunshine Self-Help, ECD, is been run by her own grandchild, which means whatever she aspired to has carried over, not only in the community, but in the family. At some stage, Aunt Florrie, can you all hear me? Oh. At some stage, Aunt Florrie had a temporary blindness. And unfortunately, if we needed eye care, we all had to go to St. John's at Baragwanath. And I don't know if anybody of you have visited, but you'll see people come as far as from the Vaal, 5 o'clock in the morning to be in the queue. And I think when Aunt Florrie experienced that feeling of having to sit and wait from 5 o'clock to see the doctor by 11 o'clock. She realized there's a need for something closer home. And it didn't derail her. She started fighting. And we know that today in Westbury, there is a satellite St. John's clinic assisting the surrounding communities. Very interesting. Very interesting. Some people have realized in the Val, if you go there, you get quicker help. So they come there as well. And Flora was involved with the Westbury Residents Action Committee. And I know in the 80s how she fought people from, let me say, when Sophia Town was, people had the forceful removals. Most of the colored people were moved to Western Native Township. And that, it meant that they were taken from one area just to another area, but it did not change their lifestyle. And Florrie was very active in that transformation and getting Western Native Township into Westbury and taking officials on, fighting with them, standing bold and tell them, you're not going to do that. You will do it this way. That's how the determination she had. And she succeeded in many ways. I must also say that in those years, and Florrie will remember Mr. Wilsnach, all the meetings we had with the then Johannesburg City Council, and how she would fight and say, this must happen, that must happen, and how she succeeded in many of those things. It may not have looked big at that time, as previously said, but the change, the meaningful change that came about must be recorded as women who have stood up, and all of us can do that. I'd also like to say in terms of just the ordinary behavior of people. If Aunt Florrie saw you and you were doing something wrong, she would never let you pass without telling you, wat jy nou doen is verkeerd. Jy gaan dit nie hier doen nie. And if people know the history of Westbury, Westbury had a tremendous amount of gangsterism. It was known as the Spaldings and the Fast Gangs. But it didn't deter Aunt Florrie to tell them you are wrong. What you are doing, julle mors ons gemeenskap nou op, soos ons het wel gesê het. So we are honoring today a woman. And if you look at, I've just highlighted a few, then you can understand that this woman sitting here today deserves to be honored. She deserves that honoring. And it's so powerful that other women are here today to really honor this major, massive woman who has fought for her community, but it went beyond her community. I remember once we had people from PE and Cape Town and all the residents associations coming together and all planning, how are we going to change our lives? And Flora used to say, julle moet nie net praat nie, julle moet dit doen. So she was an actionary. Within her vision, she was really meant for action. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank the University of Johannesburg, the UJ Center for Education, Rights and Transformation, and Community Education for this legacy program. And I really want us to give Mr. Madni Halim, who's doing this research, a round of applause. Could you stand up, please? I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Quite often in South Africa, we have a tendency to honor people when they are dead, when they cannot hear or feel or see. So this is very major, and I think if you all can just know that this room is literally filled with honorable people, and the major honor we have with Aunt Sophie and Aunt Florrie, then I think It is something we should always look at, and therefore I take my hat off for the research being done, for identifying Aunt Florrie, and for her being here today. So ladies and gentlemen, I will not prolong the program, but I'm going to ask you all to once again rise and give this woman all the glory. Thank you. So now I'm going to see if I can get Aunt Florrie personally to say something.
60 years of community development, ladies and gentlemen. 60 years.
Goedemiddag allemaal. Ik wil net sê baie dankie vir soveel mense wat hulle tyd opgeoffer het om hier te gewees het vandag. Ek weet nie, was dit net van my of was dit iets wat gereeld gewees het vir ander mense ook nie. Maar van my kant af wil ek sê baie dankie dat soveel mense opgedag het. En ek weet nie, as ek met vele nou begin sê, waar het ek begin en waar het ek geëindig, dan gaan ons vanavond die uit. Maar ek wil nie breek nie. Ek wil net sê, ek het krag gekry van die Here af, om vir my die dinge wat ek gedoen het ek gedoen uit die liefde van my hart uit. Ek het nie verwag ek gaan betaling kry daarvoor, maar ek het net gedoen, omdat ek gevoel het, wat verkeerd is verkeerd en dit moet reggemaak word. Maar die Here het my gedra en het my gehelp, dat het reggekom het, dat ons vandag hier is wat ons is. Baie van die dinge wat so verkeerd gewees het, is verander en dit is reggemaak. So ek wil net sê baie dankie en ek hoop baie van die jong mense sal ook opstaan en altyd iets doen vir iemand, al is dit net vir 1 of 2 mense wat jy goed doen. Maar die Here seën jou wat jy gedoen het. En daarom staan ek vandag nog op die ouderdom wat ek amper nie eens meer kan regloop. 90 jaar. Wie kan so lang leef as jy niks gedoen het? Baie dankie vir die wat hulle allemaal hier opgedag het. Om net te kom luister, is nie al wat ek wil gesê het nie, maar as ek nie iets opskryf nie, dan vergeet ek soos 'n vlieg. Ek kan nie onthou. Maar ek wil sê baie dankie vir julle allemaal, en ek hoop baie van julle jong mense sal ook opstaan en goeie dinge doen. En as jy goeie dinge doen, moenie dink jy doen het verniet nie, want die Here betaal jou met jou lewe wat langer sal wees, en baie goeie dinge wat sal plaasvind met julle. So ek sê net baie dankie vir julle allemaal.
Oud, maar nog niet, koud niet!
Thank you. I'm going to ask Aunt Florrie's granddaughter, one of them will say something.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sharon. I'm the youngest daughter of Mrs. Florrie Daniels. I have my sister over there, Shirley Daniels. Stand up, raise your hand. Nephew Dion, that's Felicia's brother. Just a quick word. This is actually Madly putting me on the spot here. So I didn't prepare anything, but what I thought is going to be the easiest to do is just to read very quickly a speech that I wrote when the tribute for my mum was arranged by the Legacy Project on the 13th of December last year. Unfortunately, I was in Chicago at the time, so I wrote the speech and sent it to my daughter, and it was crazy because her battery died, so she couldn't get the thing to read it. So here goes. Tribute, I called it Tribute to Florrie Daniels. We are because of them, the Legacy Project. Hashtag very proud daughter. Thank you everybody who contributed in any way to making this tribute to my mom a success. Special thanks to Madnia Lim, Cyril Turton, Zain Dango, and the rest of the team who started the Legacy Project and who put so much effort into making it a reality. I'm sad that I'm not able to attend. However, my son, Delano Daniels, and my daughter, Kamal Daniels, is representing me at the table next to my mom, and so are my grandchildren present on the day. My mother is my hero, my role model, my comrade. We've been through so much together over the years. Her fighting spirit, her fighting spirit and her refusal to accept the injustices brought on by the apartheid system has made her the strong and resilient woman she is today. From breaking down the foundations of the first 10 matchbox houses with ceilings in the dining rooms only, with a pick, along with some other ladies, to sitting in police vans for her actions, which was not wrong at all. That was called resistance and fighting for freedom. But the South African police, however, saw this and her actions as being a troublemaker, who was just causing trouble and messing up with their perfect little monstrous and evil apartheid system, which destroyed people's lives and separated families in many ways. People were imprisoned and incarcerated and separated from their families for years. These were some of their wonderful laws. Anyone who was not white was prohibited from having a decent education. The Group Areas Act caused people to be displaced from their homes. They were forcefully removed from their homes in 1956, and the belongings were destroyed. People of different colors were prohibited from marrying or just being in love thanks to the Immorality Act. My mum and sisters and I had to buy refreshments through a small window because we were not allowed to go into the shop whilst traveling through Cape Town's small dorpies. We had to sit on benches in parks and other public areas, like public toilets marked "nie blankes," which was a nice way of saying "for blacks only." Other benches near the lake and the ducks were clearly marked "slechts blankes," meaning "for whites only." What a joke this government was, but thank God we've managed to overpower them. The list is endless, but my mother fought for freedom and justice for all. She fought so that people who were disenfranchised could lead better lives and be recognized as human beings. She worked hard in Westbury and the surrounding areas to make the community's lives more convenient by having the St. John's Eye Clinic built, as well as the geriatrics clinic, as well as the community nursery school. With very little resources, she did a lot to improve the quality of people's lives. I remember staying out of school to get the combi from what was then called Coronationville Hospital at 5 a.m. to accompany her to St. John's Eye Clinic at Baragwanath Hospital because she could not see where she was going. But I did that for my mom, and I still came first in my class at the end of the year, having missed out on so many lessons during that year, because she is my mother and I love her. She lived on her own since my father passed on when I was 6 years old, and I've never ever known a stepfather. She went to church every Sunday, whether it hails, it's raining, or the sun is shining. She kept the youth off the streets by starting the Girls Brigade and the drum majorettes. I did my share of marching through the years, and so did my children. She's lost her own children and buried them. She's buried her grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and she did that with dignity. Salute. My mother is a phenomenal woman. She is 90 years old, but solid as a rock. She is principled and disciplined. I salute you, my mother, my friend, my confidant, my support system, and my comrade. Viva Florrie Daniels, viva!
I do make a very pretty mic stand.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've really tried to push, I'm going to ask Aunt Florrie's granddaughter. She would like to say something. She was instructed by Aunt Florrie to say something. I'll give the mic to Manisha. I'm so used to the phones.
Thank you, everybody. You know, I'm not the one for all this. I'm as plain as my granny. I'm Venetia, Mrs. Daniels' eldest daughter. I just want to thank everybody. When I walked in here, I saw so many familiar faces. And it's not just the familiar, every face has got a story behind it. I saw Dr. Susan there, I saw Prof. You know, everybody's got something. And the last time I spoke to Susan, she graduated and we were supposed to go to some place where there was a function. And that was in last year. My granny wasn't well. We never thought that she will make it up till today. The same thing happened Monday, yesterday. She wasn't well. And she kept on saying, oh, as die Here my net kan hou tot môre toe. So I realized that she lives day by day. You know, she's got a vision for tomorrow and next day and the day after that and every other day. But however, I think we should take a step. To get up there, you have to take a small step. And that is what she taught me through the years. You know, that the more you look forward, you must also realize reality, you have to get to the next step to get 10 miles away from where you are. So I want to say thank you to each and everyone, including the people from Westbury, with the short notice that was given. A special thanks to Matney, Cyril, Stephen, Don, I'm not sure if Don is here from St. John's, everybody else, I just want to say thank you. And Rudy, thanks.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and may I say this has been a major honor for me to have done this. Thank you very much.
The University of Johannesburg. Rethink, reinvent.